Back whenever I played football, I approached every game as if winning was assured. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what was always on my mind was what advantages I or the team had over the opponent and how we were going to use them, how we could attack them. And I never thought about what they might have over us, how they might be able to attack us. And as I became a coach, I've kind of had that flip in mentality where I don't have the fan approach of like, we have this and that's better than what you have, so like that's going to be an advantage. I have this mentality of almost disaster scenario. What do I look at about Ohio State and think, man, that could blow this game open? If that happens, this game could go sideways for Michigan. So that's what I want to talk about today. If you're a Michigan fan, it's going to feel negative. I promise that. If you're an Ohio State fan, you're going to leave this one feeling pumped up, really happy. But these are some things where, if it plays out how it possibly could, it could be a massive advantage for Ohio State. It could completely throw a crowbar in Michigan's game plan. And that's how I'm approaching this video. It's just seeing what are those things that Michigan really has to watch out for. And if I'm Ohio State, how am I trying to attack Michigan? Number one, I look at Blake Frazier on offense. Love the guy. He's not ready to play physically. He gets bullied a lot. He runs off the ball hard. He looks physical in a lot of short yardage runs, but he gets thrown off late because he's really athletic to get off the ball, to get movement, to play with low pad level, but he just can't finish. He doesn't have that play strength yet. And it looks the same in pass pro. His feet are good. He's in good position. And then somebody just runs to his chest, knocks him backwards into Bryce Underwood, knocks him backwards onto his head. I think they're going to try to match him up with Caden Curry. I've said repeatedly, I don't think Caden Curry is like this dynamic pass rusher. However, what I do think is he's a monster physically. He's very big, he's fast, he's strong, and he plays strong. If he puts his hands in Blake Frazier's chest, it is going to be a long day. It could impact the run game. It could impact the throw game. He could be getting to Bryce quickly. The other thing I look at, same vein, is Caden McDonald. I think Caden McDonald is a monster. He's listed at, I think, 330. That seems like a low ball. Dude's huge. He plays strong as well. Michigan's interior O-line, I don't think we're moving him a whole lot. I really don't. I think especially if he gets a matchup with a guy like Jake Garnera, I think he's going to sit right there in those holes. He's going to clog them. And if he's able to consistently shed, to consistently make big plays in short yardage, that could be a huge problem for Michigan. If those two dominate the run game, if Michigan becomes one-dimensional, if they've got to throw it a lot, if they've got to live in third and long, that's not a world you want to be in against a secondary like Ohio State's and with a freshman quarterback playing in a massive game. Now, I trust Bryce Underwood. I like Bryce Underwood. I love him, actually. But, man, those aren't situations you want to put him in. So Michigan needs to find ways to run the ball if they've got to get creative, if it's got to be quarterback run. You cannot let Caden Curry and Caden McDonald take over the game. You cannot let them dictate where you're able to run the football. And Michigan might have checks. They might run away from Caden McDonald. They might run away from Caden Curry anytime he's to Blake Frazier. We'll see. So that's what I'm worried about up front. On the other side of the ball, I look at Michigan's rotations. And if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen or heard me talk about it. Michigan rotates a lot. And this past game against Maryland, it was really, really bad. I don't want to say it was bad because the guys played well, but at the same time, it was Maryland, okay? We got to a point where they were platooning both the front seven and the DBs. So the starters started the game. They played the first series and a half. And after that, the starting defensive line and the starting linebackers were kind of in and out together. So anytime Rayshon Benny, Derek Moore, Jayshon Barham were off the field, the starting linebackers were also off the field. We had Nate Owosu-Boateng out there. We had Chase Taylor out there with the backup defensive line, but the starting secondary. The next series I notice, they've got the starting secondary out there, but they don't have the starting D-line. They don't have this, they switched it. They have the backup secondary, but they do have the starting defensive line, the linebackers. And to me, that bothers me because it feels like we're rotating almost for no reason. To me, it feels like we're choosing not to have our best players on the field. I'm looking in the second quarter of the game. Maryland's offense was just on the field for a 3-and-out Michigan's offense goes on a long drive. Maryland's offense comes back out. And we've got all backups in the game. You don't need to do that. You can have the starters on the field for that drive. They're not tired. They're not getting worn down by this Maryland team. So I don't know if that's going to be an adjustment. Like, hey, we're playing Ohio State now. You got to play a little bit more. It's not Maryland. We're not going to rotate so much. The reason we rotated was to be ready to be healthy for this game. Hopefully. Because I look at that lineup, and I think they can block it forever. I think pass protection would be no problem. And Julian Sayin, you can say whatever you want about him. He does not miss whenever you give him that long. Whenever you can't get to him. And Michigan's backup defensive lineman cannot get to him. I think Cam Bryant is probably the most dynamic of the non-starters. Still not super dynamic, more of a power rusher, more of a bull rush guy. He could catch you, but will he? Does it happen often? No, not really. I think they can run the ball in that unit as well. A lot of talk about who's going to have the most rushing yards. I know who's going to have the most rushing yards if we throw out the backup defensive line and freshman linebackers the whole game. It's going to be Ohio State because they've got a dynamic back. And the O-line isn't great, especially on the interior for Ohio State. But that back makes them right a lot. They get beat inside, boop, he's going outside. They get beat to the right, he's going left. And that's how it shakes out. He can do that to Michigan too, especially if they've got freshman linebackers out there. Especially if they've got freshman DBs out there. So I'm concerned about the platooning, about the coverages against that not great pass rush. And whenever they do have the great pass rush in, are they going to have the bad cover players in? Man, I hope not, because it's Ohio State that they're playing. The other thing I'm worried about on Michigan's offensive side is the last few weeks, I see a lot of coverages we're facing, and it's quarter half. It's Tampa 2. It's cover 3. It's robber. And yeah, they'll rotate to it. They'll disguise some stuff here and there. But what Ohio State does is much more complex than a team like Maryland does. I'm getting cooked on Twitter for saying it's not complex, because to me it's not complex. I can see how it would look complex, and if you've never coached it or you've never played against it, I can see how it would be very complex because it's got a lot of rules. Bryce Underwood is 18. There's absolutely a possibility it looks complex to Bryce Underwood. That it looks unique to Bryce Underwood, because the last few weeks we've not been seeing things like that. There are a lot of teams that do run it, and I stand by that. It's not unique to like Bill Belichick. It's not unique to an NFL-style defense or whatever people want to say. But at the same time, it is going to look complex to Bryce Underwood, more than likely. What you get pre-snap is not what you get post-snap. Guys are going to be aligned in a way where they're playing man, but they have an advantage because they're taking the first guy in, they're taking the first guy out, and they're playing inside, they're playing outside. So, Bryce Underwood making a mistake could flip this game. What I've noticed about him, whenever he's sure about a look, he really steps into a throw, and he looks like a 5-star, $12 million quarterback. His feet are set, and he just rips it. That being said, when his feet aren't set, whenever he's not sure about a look, he's falling backwards, he's fading, he's double pumping, and that's when the inaccurate throws happen. That's when the indecisiveness happens. And that is what hurts Michigan, because one negative play, one time holding the ball too long and getting stripped, one time throwing it into coverage, one time getting it tipped, changes games. That will flip a game on its head. If he does that a couple times, Michigan gets behind. All of a sudden, they've now got to drop back and throw it. They've got to abandon the run game. That's how the game gets flipped on its head for Michigan. That's how Ohio State blows out Michigan. I've got to bring up an old concern for you guys. I haven't talked about it this year. I talked about it a whole heck of a lot last year. Jimmy Roeder in coverage. We haven't played a lot of teams that will expose it. He's slow. He's not super athletic. This is not a big secret. Ohio State's going to know it. In fact, I remember a couple years ago, he came into the game. What did Ohio State do? They immediately went after him. I think they're going to do the same thing because, yes, his instincts are better. Yes, he has better run fits. Yes, he gets to a spot better in coverage now. That being said, it is going to be a coverage matchup against a lot of guys Ohio State has. Tight ends, slot receivers, running backs, it doesn't matter. They can all outrun Jimmy Roeder. It would take a heck of a performance from him. The performance of his life to play a good game in coverage against Ohio State. So I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, to see his snaps reduced. If Ernest Hausman can play, that's okay. If Ernest Hausmann is still in La La Land doing whatever he was doing mentally, that's a lot of trouble. So overall, this is what worries me about Ohio State. This is how I think Ohio State can move the ball, about how they can stuff the run. I think if it plays out that way, Ohio State would have massive advantages in these ways. I'm not saying that it will. I'm not saying that all these things are going to go the wrong way. I'm not saying that one of the backup defensive linemen or safeties for Michigan might not make a play. They might bat a ball. They might get home. They might force a turnover. Who knows? But I'm just saying, as a coach, as someone who sees disaster scenarios, as someone who sees the advantages the other team has over us and not just the advantages we have over them, this is how I think Ohio State could blow this game open. That being said, I am a Michigan fan. I do think Michigan has their advantages as well. Over on TikTok, if you don't follow me at CFB Chuck, I have picked Michigan to win the game. I think they have the mental edge. I think Ohio State right now is a better football team. But I look over at Georgia and Alabama, and I thought Georgia was the better football team. I still think Georgia was the better football team. But Alabama went into Athens and beat them. Why? There's a mental hurdle there. They've just got something over them. I think Michigan's got the same thing over Ohio State. I think they're going to get the win. I've been wrong before, and if I am wrong, it will be because of this sheet of paper in front of me that I've been reading off to remind me of everything that I'm concerned about. So those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours in the comments. If you're still here, like the video, sub to the channel. I'll probably catch you after the game.